Throughout all of my years playing different role-playing games, I've always enjoyed testing new things, new characters, new classes, and new IDs. But I've always fallen back to wizard being my most favorite class, or a wizard variant if magic doesn't exist. For example, in a sci-fi world, I enjoy playing engineers, or in a realistic world, I enjoy playing tricksters. I've always wondered why that was. Why do I always want to build wizards? Why do I always want to play tricksters? Why do I always want to play creative characters that can solve problems with weird, tweaky skills? Then I realized something. There's actually one thing in role-playing games, or one type of special kind of role-playing game style, that I don't like. The most typical one, the dungeon crawling ones. I love role-playing games where the focus is at solving a crime, solving a riddle, finding the murderer or the missing jewel that was stolen, or solving a mysterious plot, or figuring out a mystery. Having a treasure map over a dungeon that is filled with monsters and you go from room to room until you find the treasure doesn't have the same appeal to me. But this is how I realized why I enjoy playing wizards, magicians and sorcerers so much. Because in a typical role-playing battle, a wizard can actually solve riddles. I can entertain myself by creating riddles inside a combat system and then solve them. When you play a wizard, it's typical that you learn the magic missile spell and some other fireballs and other damage dealing spells. I actually don't do that. Let me tell you about one of my favorite battle events that happened during a role-playing game when I was playing a wizard. We had been hired to escort a caravan from point A to point B. We were typical warriors that were good at battle, and during the travel we were attacked by a whole bunch of goblins. Everyone was doing the typical thing. The warrior were hacking and slashing with his sword, the hunter were shooting arrows with his bow, and the thief used this opportunity to steal from the caravan. Me? Turn 1, I cast Magical Vision on the warrior, and everyone is a little bit confused because why would I do that? Round 2, I cast Magical Fog. The hunter, a little bit skeptic, explains that fog spell is really good when you wanna sneak into a complex, and he clearly points out that no one can actually see anything. I agree, no one can actually see anything except the warrior, who can see perfectly. The game master makes a bunch of calculations, figuring out that the chance for the goblins to hit with their attacks is close to 0, while the warrior, with his magical vision that he got from me, is attacking perfectly. In fact, we won that fight with close to 0 injuries. And I felt really satisfied with this magical combination. It felt like I had solved a puzzle, how I should perform combat without any form of magical attacks. Whenever I play a wizard or sorcerer, or even bard for that matter, I would always choose trickster spells. I would then go into various role-playing combats that you always end up in with these trickster spells and try to figure out how I'm going to win these combats with my spells of mine. And to do this I have to be really creative, and I really enjoy this. To give you a good example, let me showcase Loki from the Avengers. He is the god of trickery and mischief. I would actually say that he is outwitting his opponents with mad genius skills, and that he's a god of creativity. I really think I have an all-around well-built character this way, building a wizard and choosing spells that are a little bit more focused at other things than combat. I will be really good at solving all kinds of problems, but on the same time I can use my skills in creativity and thinking outside the box and fighting my way through with my trickster magic. In my own personal opinion, this actually sounds like the ultimate character and class. But I really enjoy how this is also improving me as a person, making me more creative and better at thinking outside the box. Leveling up as a person is something I value quite a lot. But Loki was the bad guy and villain in the Avengers saga and story. And the hunter, the archer, in my example, when I casted magical vision on the warrior and I casted magical fog, didn't really like and enjoy that. Simply put, he couldn't see anything, therefore he couldn't shoot anyone with his arrows, and he couldn't inflict his terrible damage upon his enemies. I made it impossible for him to do what he wanted to do. That's actually bad. Now I'm the bad guy. The number one rule for successful role-playing game is communication. And in my opinion, it's everyone's responsibility of making sure they are enjoying their time without hurting anyone else's enjoyment, and also trying to bring in other players into the game. The only real way of achieving this is through communication. So I have figured out what I enjoy, playing wizards and solving puzzles in combat. But just like everyone else should try to communicate with me what they enjoy and try to help me get what I enjoy, I should also communicate with others to figure out what they are looking for. Communication, and communication, guys. Because wizards is actually not my favorite kind of character. My favorite kind of character, what I enjoy playing the most, are people that are undergoing some form of life trauma, that are adventurers not on purpose or free will, but some form of accident. I didn't choose this adventurous life. The adventure life chose me. A good example of this is Frodo and Bilbo Baggins. They didn't choose to carry the ring. The adventure life chose them. But achieving that wonderful story and focus on a character's development can only be achieved with communication. And if no one wanna play a story-based focused game with character development, then wizards like Loki is my go-to.